Hello, everybody out there in internet land. Jeff Cross here and Randy Fox. Say hello, Randy.
Hello, everybody.
All right. I've kind of been doing these podcasts, and I think we're going to step up the game a little bit. I know, right? So I feel like there's a lot of people that are listening in, tuning into the podcast, but I think we can make it even better by bringing in guest speakers like Randy, who have a lot of insight in the officiating world, the coordinator, leadership, maybe even have some perspective from the coach because he has to deal with coaches day in and day out in his job. If anybody doesn't know Randy, Randy's the coordinator of a couple Division III conferences, the NAC and also the Midwest Conference. So ultimately what we're going to do here, what we're going to try and do here is we're going to record our conversation because Randy and I talk, I would say hours through the week. Am I right? Hours, sometimes hours at a time. And I always think, man, I wish I would have recorded that because we really talked about some good stuff, covered some good stuff. So we have a few things we're going to discuss. We're going to kind of just see where the discussion goes, see where the platform takes us. But I'm hoping you guys enjoy it. Before I get started, if you want to get a hold of me, it is my email is jeffcross22@gmail.com. Randy, you want to give yours?
rfoxref@yahoo.com.
rfoxref@yahoo.com. So jeffcross22@gmail and rfoxref@yahoo.com. So, all right, well, let's get started. Our main topic today is going to be about changing the face of officiating. Not just about college officiating or Division I, II, or III, but we need to change the face and hopefully lead into where we think officiating is going and where do we need to be as officials to make those adjustments so we are part of that changing face. So anything you want to add, Randy, before we get started?
No, I think just from a perspective that, I've been officiating for, over 25 years. I mean, I started when I was in college and like everybody, we're starting at lower levels. But I think we can all agree that the game is very different than it was 25 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And so, but I don't believe that overarchingly, we as officials, as an organization, as a group of brothers and sisters in our fraternity, we haven't maybe migrated as much as the game has migrated into changing. And I think this is why it's a great conversation. You and I talk about this all the time, that we need to continue to change the face of officiating and for the sake of the game. And the athletes are more talented. The game is more up-tempo. The expectations are different. And we need to preserve that and be a good steward of the game as officials. And so we've got to change with it.
I would agree. So, one of the first things I want to talk about is from a coach's perspective, what do you think a coach is? And, what are some of the things that you hear from coaches that right away make you think, we got to change the face. We got to change how this is looking. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think, from all of the dealings, and not just obviously you and I, we both deal with coaches every day on the court, as well most of the people that are listening to this, and we always get that perspective. But over the last few years of dealing with, now I have 22 schools, so a lot of coaches, different perspectives. The very, very first thing we always talk about, the being physically fit in the game. However, we say that and we have officials that aren't necessarily fit, but have been around a long time and call a decent game and have been buddies with coaches, and the coaches know them. And the feedback that I'm receiving is that those days are over. Just because you've been around for a long time and you've been able to call a good game, if you cannot keep up with the speed of the game and get down the floor, it doesn't matter. You have failed the psych test and they have decided that your credibility is gone. And so every close call is now a disaster. Where years ago, you could really get by on just your charm, some good relationship building, and believe me, we all know we have to have communication skills, but we have to be physically fit and able to get up, down that court and pass the psych test when we walk on the floor.
I kind of think of it a couple different ways. My wife, she works in the judicial system, so she's a clerk for a judge. And I always, we always talk about passing the psych test. What do they look like? The referee, right? Well, could you imagine going to court and then seeing the referee walk in cut off blue jeans and a tank top, and a fish hook hanging off his hat, right?
The judge has no gavel and robe.
Right.
They just come out with a big sledgehammer and a farmer's hat.
Yeah, and they're gonna and how are you gonna feel as a defendant? Oh boy, I'm done, right? Or whatever it is, the plaintiff, I'm done. I don't have a chance here. So that's exactly what I believe anyway. That's what coaches. That's what we talk about on the psych test. We just don't want to go to the carnival. Go to the carnival, then we see what is that movie with Joe Dirt? We see Joe Dirt running the tilt-a-whirl, and we go, oh boy, I don't think I'm getting on. I don't care if it's half price or not. I don't care if he's been doing it for years. He hasn't passed my psych test. Agreed?
I agree.
Yeah,
that's the first thing. You got to be able to pass the psych test. Mm-hmm. And I think so. And my second biggest point, I think, from coaches is that there's been such a lack, especially I think at the Division III and the high school level, of being able to really effectively communicate with coaches. And there's some ignoring the coaches going on. And we feel like, don't challenge my call. And when I've had enough, I'm going to warn you. And then, if you're unsporting, the rules tell me that I'm supposed to give you a technical foul. And coaches are saying, I want to have a conversation with you. I want to know that you're hearing me. They're admitting that they're emotional. And it just seems like year after year after year, we make little progress, in this area. And we heard a really experienced person at camp this summer say that the biggest difference between those that rise and those that don't is the ability to get along with coaches. Period. I'm not going to say who that was because I don't know if we should broadcast that or not. But
yeah, because the 12 people that are watching might, right?
I mean, she's been in the game for 35 years probably, and at a very, very high level, and works with our boss, at the Division I level. And at the end of the day, yeah, we have to be good play callers and things, but if you can't communicate and diffuse tough situations with coaches and really believe that we have to put ourselves in their shoes. They are out there full-time living, getting paid to do this. They're getting paid to win games. And when their team is struggling and the call goes against them, they aren't mad at Jeff or Randy. They're mad at the situation. And they erupt emotionally. And if we understand that, we can respond with very little emotion and bring them down and help them understand where we're coming from and develop rapport. And if you can do that moment after moment, game after game, your game will get better and you'll get more games. But if you're just going to be the one that ignores them, and then when you've had enough, gives them a technical foul, multiple times last year I had coaches that got technical fouls. They were not mad that they got the technical fouls. They said that they probably even deserved the technical foul. But here's why they contacted me. They ignored me the entire time, and the first time they talked to me was to blow their whistle and say, that's a technical foul. Mm-hmm. So that's on us as a referee, I think. We just, okay, so you won't listen to me, you won't talk to me, so I have to blow up like a 2-year-old, and then now you're going to put me in timeout.
Well, and this is what if we talk about, where are we at in the world, there's a lot of law enforcement issues and, cops just not being able to communicate. And I heard an interview. It may have been last year actually, when back when the Ferguson, or a couple years ago when the Ferguson thing was going on. And it says, I believe it's the same that applies for officials. Officials, law enforcement, whoever that is, we spend, I want to say, probably 90% of our time in training on the floor, training inside the rule book. There's all kinds of training on mechanics, positioning. All that training is available, and we could train for that day in and day out. But there's nowhere in the rule book, the case book, mechanics book on any kind of training for our communication skills. There's zero. We have to find a way to go out and get, find whatever that resource that is that's going to make us a better communicator. I read books like Verbal Judo, The Gentle Art of Persuasion, other communication books or leadership books that are going to find us being better communicators. And it's no different than we go to camp in the summertime and we work on our craft. We work on play calls, and we work on administering the rules correctly. Well, I use my communication skills on a daily basis at my work when I punch in. I use my communication skills with my 2 kids and my wife, my in-laws, whatever that is. I'm practicing those communication skills, so that way when I get on the floor, it becomes very, very easy for me to apply those. So instead of going home and saying, whatever, young lady, shut up or you're going to your room, that hasn't worked with my communication skills. And that's what we do. We do that at home, or we do that with our maybe a subordinate at work or whatever it is, and say, that's it, one more word and I'm sending you home for the day, or whatever that is. We use that communication on a daily basis. So now when we walk on the floor, that's all we know how to use. One more word is a technical foul. That's all we know how to use. So we have to, I believe, we need to practice our communication skills when we're off the floor. So that way our communication skills when we come on the floor are very much second nature. Would you agree?
I agree, 100%. Yeah. You can't turn a faucet on and off and suddenly be a bad communicator all day and then at night hit the floor and become good, or all week long. You've got to put it into who you are, all of the time. And for that matter, this is probably a little bit more from a coordinator perspective. But if we want to prepare better for how we're going to handle tough situations on the floor, communication, how we're going to work with partners that maybe we're comfortable with, but we need to make sure that we're not so comfortable that we lose our focus, or we're with partners that night that we maybe never met. We have to stop hook sliding into games 45 minutes to an hour before the game. And when we set out to say, well, the game is at 7 o'clock, so I need to be there at 5:45, an hour and 15 minutes before the game, and it's a 45-minute drive from my work, so I'm going to leave work at 5 o'clock. We've allowed no buffer, and now we come hook sliding in, and we have no opportunity. And I think that's another way that we need to change the face of the game. It's never been the expectation at the lower levels to get there really early. Well, if you want to be really good, then we have to do things differently. And those that show up 40 minutes before the game, you can tell when they get on the floor. And it impacts the crew, it impacts the game, and they're not taking it seriously. So I think if you want to be a good communicator that night, you got to get the traffic and work and life and everything out of your system to prepare for the game.
Yeah, and I would also say, I wouldn't say that they're not necessarily taking it seriously, but the perception can be between your 2 partners, or maybe a coach or an AD, when sees you hook sliding in 45 minutes or 35 minutes before a game, their perception is that you're not taking it seriously. Even though you may very well be taking it serious, it doesn't make any difference. That perception is they believe you are not taking it serious. So now you have to jump that hurdle of coming in 30, 40 minutes prior to the game to say, hey, don't worry, I'm still here for all business. It's just a hurdle we don't want to have to face. Sometimes things happen, but we don't want to have to face those hurdles. I've always said sometimes the best way to handle a situation is to avoid it.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of seeing this hurdle and say, okay, how am I going to jump this hurdle? How do I not have to face this hurdle? That's the question. So
I do a program that I call How to Get Along with Those That Don't Deserve It. And it's really not about conflict resolution. It's about conflict avoidance. How we work with other personalities that are different than ours and respect them and adapt to them. So not every coach is going to be the same.
Yep.
Not every one-liner that you have is going to work every time on every coach because they're not the same personality.
Yep.
And so we have to become a student, and you and I say this all the time. This is a business. And we recognize that not everybody makes their full living in this business. But that's, again, where I think coaches are looking for a higher caliber official. They're looking for people that are good play callers, but that are looking at this as a business. They take it very seriously. Because let's remember, this is the coach's livelihood at the collegiate level. And they're tired of being, well, that guy just wanted to go to the college level and they signed up and so they got games. Mm-hmm. They want the best officials they can get on every night. And there's reasons that there's been, they're continuing to look at rule changes and directional changes in the NCAA because they want to change the optics of the game. And we have a responsibility for helping call the rules as written and be consistent and work on our game and not just rest on, well, 5 years ago I worked at the conference championship for that Division III or Division II conference, and I know I'm a good referee, so why do I need to change or why do I need to go to camp? I think we can get comfortable sometimes in not wanting to change.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you talk about it not necessarily being a business at Division III or junior college or even Division II. Sometimes it's not a business. It may not necessarily be a full-time business, but even if you look at the regular world, the real world, the punch in the time clock world, there's a lot of business out there that are full of part-time people, full of part-time workers. They never say, well, you're going to have to choose between 4 part-time people. I need one position. I got to choose between 4 part-time people. They're still going to be part-time. Well, that manager, that director, whoever that is going to pick their best person. They're all part-time. They've all just doing it for a few extra bucks. If I got person 1, 2, 3, and 4, and number 3 is the best one out of them all, I'm taking number 3, even though they all say it's still part-time. That's what we're going to get at with these officials. We got to get, at least I believe in the officiating world, even from high school to college, just because you're saying you're doing it for a few extra bucks. Well, there's multiple people. If you have over 200 people on your staff, that means there's 200 people that are doing it for a few extra bucks. And if there's a 200 people doing it for a few extra bucks, there's going to be some at the top of the list that you're going to pick first because they take it just a little bit more serious than the other part-time person does.
That's right. I agree. And well, like you said, you can go to any retail store, grocery store, restaurant. There are a lot of people that have full-time jobs. Yep. They need extra money, or they do it because they love to do it, or they like the people. It's the same reasons that people referee. They love the game. They love the network and the people. They like the little extra money. They like the physical activity. Yeah, it's a part-time job, but it's a job.
Yep.
And when somebody's calendar isn't up to date, or when they continuously turn back games because, sorry, I forgot to update that, or when they take days upon days to accept games, you're going to go to the people that take care of business on and off the court. I mean, it's just that simple. The people that are a hassle are going to get less. The coaches in the game deserve the best that we can put out there. And it just still sticks with me last year when we, at the NCAA meeting, how they were talking about the optics of the game and they want to change the sportsmanship and not have as much demonstrating by coaches on the sidelines. We need to take care of that as referees. Yet don't we have a responsibility too to be a part of changing the optics, that we take it seriously and we're professionals in how we handle our logistics. Because I'm telling you, you had a part-time job, whatever. Pick your restaurants, pick your retailer, and you took days to decide whether or not the schedule was good, or you didn't show up when you were supposed to show up, or you didn't do the job as good as others, we would eventually just get rid of you and get another part-time person.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like when that happens now in the officiating world, everybody freaks out. Like once I've raised my hand and said, I want to officiate, I get to officiate until I retire. Other people aren't going to decide for me when my time is done.
Mm-hmm.
Or tell me what the expectations are when the expectations change. Well, I don't like the hand check rules, or I don't like the new rule that Randy wants me at the game an hour and a half before the game. That's okay. Those are the rules. There's other people that will sign up for them, and we're making changes, and I think some people get a little upset that the apple cart's getting, well, I'm okay with the game changing, just don't let it change me.
Right. You know, in my work, we have a gentleman who's in his mid-80s, been working for the company for 20 plus years. And obviously things have changed as time goes on. And about maybe 6 years ago, 6 years ago, we went to a new system where he had to punch in and he had to do it on the computer. Now, clearly, this is an older gentleman who is not very, fluent on the computer, we'll say, or proficient, we'll call it. So he basically says, somebody's going to have to do that for me because I can't do it. And my reply was to him is that, well, if it means you're getting paid, you're going to figure out how to do it. And guess what? He does it no problem. He does a little unorthodox than maybe some other people or whatever it is, but he gets it done because he knows that's the way he's going to get his check. And that's the way Division III officials, or these people who say they're in this for part-time, or, not just for a few bucks to hang out with the people. Well, we, as officials, need to do it a certain way in order to get the check. And to get the check is, when we're working for Randy Fox or whatever the coordinator is, they want us to be there 90 minutes prior or 75 minutes prior or 30 minutes, whatever that time frame is, that's what they want you to do. In order for you to get paid, you have to go by these policies and rules. And that's where I believe some of these officials that I didn't get in it for this. Okay, we're good with that. We have no problem with that. I can't speak for coordinators, but the coordinators, hey, if you don't want to do it the way the rules say we can do it, no problem. We got 30 other people in line waiting for your position, for your part-time position.
And I actually don't really like a lot of rules and policy. I would rather just work from a perspective of trust that we're going to take care of business and games go out. At the end of the day, coordinators get frustrated when games aren't accepted in a timely manner. They get frustrated when people are getting games and then, oh, sorry, I didn't have my calendar up to date. Sorry, I didn't allow enough time to get to the game. But really, at the end of the day, we're there to serve the game. And I said this last year at a meeting. The NCAA, has a product. Really, their product is made up of the schools that are in their association, right? It's the National Collegiate Athletic Association. Well, the association is schools that are members that participate in it. Those schools hire coaches to win games. And at the end of the day, we're being hired as officials to show up and adjudicate the rules, be a professional, be a great communicator, be a partner to our coaches, be not on the same side as the coaches, but be a supporter of the game along with the coaches. It's about the student athlete, right? And the game that's being played. And our job isn't to agree with the coaches, but we shouldn't be adversarial. And I think the coaches, if they can find officials, well, you say this all the time, if they can feel safe in the game and they trust you as an official and they know that when they ask you a question, you're going to give them a honest answer. Maybe not the answer they want to hear, but a professional, honest answer. We go a long way in doing what we need to do for the game. And I just think our on-court activity would really improve if we took that perspective. And then when the game's over, can we be humble enough and honest enough with ourselves to look at game film or to receive a clip from a coordinator or a fellow partner and be honest that we missed that call when we missed the call and learn from it, not be offended by it, but get better because we're spending time studying film. And that's another way we change the face of the game. The more film we watch and the more honest that we are, the better we become.
Let's touch on that a little bit since we brought it up. I mean, I know when I first got into officiating, Division II ranks, whatever, 12, 15 years ago, you just didn't see a video clip.
No.
All there was to it. You just didn't see one. If you saw one, we were like, ooh, what's this? Is this a leprechaun? Is this a unicorn? We didn't know what this was. So we didn't. Now they're come out all the time. Then, the great thing and the bad thing about the internet is the internet because if we have a clip, it can be across the country before you get home in a 90-minute car ride. The great thing about the internet is it can be at your coordinator before you get to your car. So at least we can discuss whatever this, major play is. But my mom says this, she said it to me maybe last year or something like that, because she has the iPhone. She's, coming up on her 60s. And she has the iPhone, and I asked her, are you okay with that? Are you comfortable? Oh yeah, whatever it is. Her philosophy on technology, and I believe this is what our philosophy should be on us as officials from Division III on up or down, whatever that is. If she doesn't keep up with technology, she will never be able to catch up. And I think that speaks volumes, because as an official, if we think, well, I'm not going to worry about that technology, I'm just going to have, if a clip comes my way or whatever it is, and all of a sudden the game changes on you, and we wake up one morning and the NCAA says, Division III coordinators, you need 2 clips from each one of your officials every game. Well, guess what? Now you're not going to be able to catch up. And you may have been a good official, but you're just like the guy at my work. He better figure out how to punch in, or he's not going to get paid.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of different ways to clip. And I know we probably someday need to help people with clipping on VLC or different things. But at the same time, they're not that hard. I mean, I would really just encourage people, right? They're really truly intuitive systems. There's YouTube videos out there. There's so many ways that you can learn to clip.
Here's the frustrating thing about me in clips. I didn't know how to clip. I didn't wake up and go, "Whoo, I had a dream. I know how to clip." I had to do my own research. I had to figure it out. I didn't say, well, I hope somebody teaches me how to clip someday while I sit here and watch the Flintstones on TV. I had to figure out how to clip. Just like I had to figure out how to call an offensive foul. I had to figure that stuff out. We're all guilty of it. We sit back in our chair and wait for somebody to teach us. Well, my kid does not learn anything sitting at home. Guess what? He has to get off of his bed, he has to eat his breakfast, and he has to go to school to learn how to do it. If we want to be better at the game, we have to get off work, we have to go to our office, and we have to figure out how to clip.
I agree. I know we get that question all the time, and I'm always like, have you even gone on and downloaded it? Have you tried it? It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nuances. Every system is different, but
Sure.
VLC is probably the best system, fairly simple system to clip on once you get it into a format. But I mean, the other thing is that we joke about all the time too, is if you're watching it on a DVD or you're watching on a system you download on your laptop, then just hold up your iPad or your phone and click record and send it to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I just, yeah, we need to stop being victims, and victims don't change the face of the game.
Right.
We need to start becoming leaders that are interested in changing the face of the game, taking it upon ourselves. Some of these things we've talked about, people have heard about before, but some of it is, hey, we really need to do this. We got to change the face. We've got to move faster, keep progress as referees. And when people contact me, which they've done, and said, what do I need to do to get more games? Well, the first thing is don't call me and ask me. I mean, that what you need to do is do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Get better. Keep your calendar updated. Go to camp. Be the best. Shine. Make a difference. All the things that we always talk about. And there's no magic formula for each and every person. We all have our own journey. And as a referee myself, we all know we all want more games. But we need to prove that we deserve those more games from every instance of what we do. And we have some, and I think we have to say this too. We know a lot of people that are doing really, really well with all these things. And this is a reinforcement for them to keep doing it. But truly, there's a lot of new coaches, particularly in, we have some veteran coaches, there's no doubt. There's a lot of new coaches in the game. And these coaches some of them are younger, they're not as experienced, but their expectations are high that they're going to get talented officials on the court, people that care about the game, and they're not just showing up for a few extra bucks and an extra hobby. They want to know that people are going to camps and that they are dedicated and that they're not accepting, because guess what? When calls are missed, those clips are coming in from coaches. They're rating those officials poorly, and we have to be strong enough to say, yeah, I missed that one. I understand you maybe had to make 200 decisions that game and you only made one bad one. But if that bad one cost that coach or it's at the end of the game, that's what they remember. But that's the business we're in, right? Mm-hmm. And we have to learn from that and not get frustrated because I made so many good calls. Yeah, you did. That's why you're on the game. Mm-hmm. Because you can make good calls. Yeah. But hey, I'm talking to you. We have to have this conversation about the play because we missed this one. I don't know. I just think there are so many aspects. We could talk about this for hours.
We could, and we might have to. We're going to shut her down here real soon. But I just want to let's recap a couple of things. If we're talking to whether it's a new official or even a veteran official, work very diligently on passing the eye test. That is going to be, as soon as the first person who sees you, whether it's Randy Fox, Jeff Cross, your partners, the coaches, the athletic director, work really hard at passing that eye test. That's going to get you, the first step that we need to do to change that face. Don't show up on blue jeans, be ready to the referee, be there on time, if not early, those kind of things. We didn't talk. Yes.
Quick one.
Sure.
I think that includes having a professional photo on Arbiter, Blue Zebra, whatever the system is.
Amen.
Coaches can see that.
Yeah,
see it. Talk about the eye test. Let's have a nice, you don't have to spend any money. Just get on a blank wall in your house and take a nice picture with a nice top on.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be anything spent.
Yeah.
But when we're sitting on a boat and we're taking pictures, we just don't look the part.
Yeah, or I've seen wedding pictures. They've cropped out their wife and they're in the tuxedo or whatever it is. They're the best man. I don't know if that's a prom picture or a wedding picture. I have no idea. But it's got no business being on a business website.
There you go. All right, keep going.
All right. So anyway, we didn't talk much about it, but I like to say this. There's no substitute for knowing the rules. Many officials. Yeah.
I think we should do this again, and we should talk about rules the next time.
So we want to pass the eye test. Is there anything else we need to touch on before what else we talk about?
Well, I think we talk about the professionalism, right, on and off the court.
Right.
Being an effective communicator,
yeah,
which means keeping our calendars up to date, but really with the coaches. We have so much work to do, but the good news is we can work on it. Mm-hmm. We can become better communicators. I like how you say it. Practice it every day at work and with your family, and then you don't have to worry about it. It'll just be who you are. Read books. Yep. Be a great communicator.
Yep, and find a way to be better at that instead of don't wait for a 3-day camp or a day and a half camp to say, okay, here I am to be a better communicator. When you got a referee, you got to do all that stuff. Work on that daily, every day. No different than going to the gym and working out or watching your diet, whatever that is. You work on that daily. You don't just say, oh, I got camp coming in a week, so I'm going to diet for a day and a half. We just don't do that.
No.
All right. And then
I think the other big element that we covered was being honest and humble enough that we're going to use technology. We're going to break down film. And we need to get better at play calling the rules as written. We've had a lot of rule changes in the last few years, and we're still not there consistently from game to game. And we didn't really talk about seeing a lot of plays, but even watching games on TV, going and seeing other people referee, just seeing plays, you have to see a lot of plays to become better at play calling.
Right. I agree. Yeah. It's, let's not, how did I say my mom said it? She goes, we have to keep up. If we don't keep up, we're going to have to catch up. So let's not put ourselves in a catch up situation. Right. Let's not fall behind, like my son does sometimes, or our kids do in their school, right? Whatever math class, he shows up at home. Hey, I'm way behind in my assignments. Well, now we've got to catch up. And sometimes we just can't do it. Sometimes kids can't catch up and they fail. Sometimes officials, if they don't keep up, they won't be able to catch up, and they're on the outside looking in. We don't want everybody outside. We want everybody inside looking in the same picture. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think. We talk often enough. Our hearts are in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
We want anybody that loves this game to maximize their individual potential.
Right.
Everybody has a different set of skills and potential they bring. We want to help maximize it. Don't just rest for what was good before or what accolades you had in the past. Celebrate them, but continue to want to maximize each and every moment that we have in the game. Well, really in life too.
Right. All right. Well,
always used to say, don't do it if you're going to do it halfway.
That's right. All right. Well, our time is up here. Again, we're going to post this on YouTube is what we're going to do, Raina. We're going to get this on YouTube. We're going to get a link out to it, and we'll advertise it as much as possible. But the two things that one of the things that we need from everybody or anybody who's watched it. One, we need you to share it. Okay. We need you to let people know that this is out there. Otherwise, a lot of people that Randy and I can't reach. Two, we need to hear from you. We need to hear from you. jeffcross22@gmail.com or rfoxref@yahoo.com. Email us, give us some ideas, or give us some, this is literally, I am not lying at all. This is a common occurrence for Randy and I to sit on the phone and have these kind of discussions, because for one, I believe it helps me. It makes me better to understand where Randy's coming from as a coordinator. Those are things that are going to make me better. I'm trying to be better just like everybody else is. So, and I'm hoping Randy gets something out of it too. So if we can be better together as we talk on the phone, and now we can share our phone conversations with other officials, hopefully we can encourage those people to be better also. So, all right. In closing, anything else, Randy?
That's it.
All right. Yeah. Make sure you email us, jeffcross22@gmail.com or
rfoxref@yahoo.com.
Bye, everybody.